Welcome to the much delayed ScratchMapping community history. I've procrastinated about this for over a year now, but now I've finally gone out and finished it. This video essay will aim to give a basic history of the ScratchMapping community, why people map, and what it means to be a mapper on this platform. But first we've got to cover some basic terminology and terms I'll be using throughout this video. As you've probably already figured out by now, the SMC is an abbreviation of the ScratchMapping community. The SMC has basically fallen apart at this point, with toxicity being very prevalent throughout the community, especially on the Discord server. There are many members in the community, but only around 30% or so are on the Discord server, and it's mostly the major mappers who are on the platform. There are many quote-unquote wars in the past, but most are satirical jokes just poking fun at the community. Recently, people were taking these wars too seriously, harassing other members online and leading to others feeling pretty shit, starting the so-called SMC mental crisis, which is a joke at this point. But now on to the actual history. Also, most of this history has already been documented on the SMC wiki. Check that out if you want a more in-depth history and want to talk to people in the community. Now let's get into it, shall we? 2014 is where the SMC began. There's not much at this point, but accounts such as Scene10, Orange Barkwood, ScratchMapping, however under an alternate account, would join the website. Scene10 would create a studio named Macedonia, the first mapping studio recorded. By the end of the year, Orange Barkwood and Scene10 would be the only members in said studio. In 2015, the current first-line mapping project was released by Ethan8 Games, Future of the World Part 1, Wars and Wars, on February 16, 2015, 10 months before Scene10 created his first project, Alternate Future of Scratch Islands Episode 1, on December 18th that same year. In December, Scene10 would create a mapping series named Alternate Future of Growlers, a mapping whispers-like series where a different mapper would create each part in the series. This series would continue until episode 8, where Bosnia's Basement would never release the next episode, ending the series early. Robotron, Ethan8 Games, and CPAPs would join Scratch, and all except CPAPs would end up joining the Macedonia studio. Most mapping projects at this time were made for fun, and no community of mappers was made until Macedonia. 2016 was a fairly big year for mappers, with mappers such as Sky the Recommended 2, Ben21 Games, Samo4015, NemoFish84, Mighty Finland, Mapboy, ScratchMapping, Old Chica123, PC Xbox One, Mopscrub, Average Welsh Bloke, YG Zelwa, Robotron 3000, Tandem Dragon, and Nutgear all joining the website. All except ScratchMapping and Mopscrub would fall into inactivity. At some point in this year, the 100th project would be shared in the Macedonia studio, which is the somewhat agreed to beginning of the mapping going era. As to quote from the wiki, mapping would also take a big step forward on Scratch, as lots of the big mappers on Macedonia, Samo4015, NemoFish, ScratchMapping, Mopscrub, and the Swedish Empire would convert from spacebar mapping to automatic mapping, where instead of having to press spacebar to alternate between slides, the video would play by itself. This is also the year Scene10 disappeared from Scratch, marking what would become the Great Depression of 2017. In this year, Samo4015's alternate account, Petrock Henry, would be promoted to the manager of Macedonia for an unknown reason. This would make Scene10 and Samo4015 the only two people to ever be managers on this server. This year, after Scene10's absence, Ethan8 Games would assume the leadership position in Macedonia and make a new set of rules. However, these rules are very controversial and other mappers disagreed with said rules. Lots of people were kicked out of the community, most notably Mopscrub, the Swedish Empire, and Samo4015. People started to leave the studio and made other studios, with most failing. But one lone studio would rise from the ashes and become the main studio, the Republic of Mapper Community. Ethan8 Games would eventually be blamed for the collapse of the Macedonia studio, but was still allowed to join Mapper Community. As previously mentioned, this studio would accomplish more than Macedonia, until dying off due to inactivity. Despite the bad news, many great mappers would join the website this year, such as UkBall Productions, currently Dan Tomkia, Pokemon Master 090909, currently Finn, SD-Ball, and FNAF Funny. The infamous Dead incident happened at the end of said year. The incident involved Finn / Pokemon Master 090909, fooling everyone into believing that he had hacked Mapper Community. Many users would pretend they were hacked as they thought it would be funny. Finn was eventually found out and forced into surrendering. 2018 was a major year in the SMC. hence the high amount of documentation it has. At the beginning of the year, UkBall Productions would make a new Scratch group, WSMA, officially the World ScratchMapping Alliance. This would be the final blow to Mapper community, and it would officially shut down in April that same year. UkBall was banned from Scratch around March, and there was no one defined leader of the community. ScratchMapping was elected as the new leader of WSMA, but he was unable to save the already sinking boat, which was the studio. The studio had died, with another set of studios coming in and trying to be dominant. This would lead to many wars throughout the community, based on which studio was better. Mapping was slowly dying out, but there was a small shine of light in the new mappers such as LatviaPotato, now Enjania, and OasisMapping, as well as the other existing mappers who were now active such as Mopscrub, ScratchMapping, and D0109. Halfway through the year, wars were extremely frequent, happening approximately every week. D109, UkBall Productions, and LatviaPotato, the leader at the time, had tried to create a quoted hangout area for the mappers, which ended up with the creation of the future of the Scratches wiki. However, wars would occur there too, with Kokomations, LatviaPotato, and CS271503. This sadly caused many mappers being banned from the Wikia, as well as Scratch. On July 17, 2018, LatviaPotato was permanently banned, but at the time it was shortened to 2 months. This is considered to be another major blow to the SMC, because at this time it was quoted as being a big anarchic state. Drama was a lot more frequent on the Wikia, as there was less opportunity for bans there due to their freer language filter. OasisMapping was angered by many mappers and paid groups to vandalize the Wikia, beginning the end for the first and second wiki. Many newer mappers joined in at this time, such as Lucas2400/Dugong, Skyminer, Smitcher, Chinese Chicken King, and others. A so-called communist revolution would happen at this time, which was the start of the so-called Great Divide. The Great Divide was an issue between elder mappers and the newer mappers, who were named as half mappers. Half mappers are considered people whose accounts aren't dedicated to mapping, with a follower base that is mostly from non-mapping accounts. 2019 is another major year, as the release of Scratch 3.0 caused much controversy. Most mappers weren't comfortable with it and quit as a result. A non-mapper named LWG started the fourth Great Mapping War, escalating the previously mentioned Great Divide. The divide saw the rise of OasisMapping, who expanded his influence due to his harsh stance on half mappers. These events led to many minor and major conflicts throughout the early half of 2019. Mapping had also semi-stabilized into a single group named MapperHub, made by LatviaPotato on an alt named Tarchik, a pun on the Pokemon Torchic. In May 2019, a series of so-called civil wars occurred in the SMC. This was caused by many mental problems some members had experienced. This led wisest to put the SMC on an emergency alert. On June 27, 2019, a group of 7 people unofficially voted to disband the SMC. However, this had little effect and the decision was not recognised by most. Spongy, OasisMapping, Thundercraft and Geogranerd joined the SMC in mid to late 2019. Later in the year, one night on the SMC Discord, a conversation occurred. This said conversation led to the creation of Mapper Community Prime. In August, the third SMC Wikia and the second major one was created. It is currently known as the ScratchMapping Wiki. There was also the failed docs and leak of personal information on September 15th. The Gormand conflicts had also arisen, but they're mostly irrelevant. As all that ended, a new enemy, Kermu, emerged. It claimed to want to destroy the SMC, so the entire community united against this outsider. This would continue until 2020, and it seemed to be heading into another golden era. 2020 has been plagued with wars, but they're mostly small conflicts. The year has been considered a partial failure by some, due to the decline in the community in January. Kermu used ults to continue fighting, but again, eventually the SMC overwhelmed him and he vanished from the internet. But with that disappearance, many people started to accuse other mappers of being a Kermu ult. This year, as well as the wars between new smaller mappers, the community is in a similar place to last year. In the present time, some major events have just occurred, such as Geogranerd leaving Scratch and Ethernet games getting banned on the website after several years being on there. Some minor conflicts have occurred, such as ScratchMapping being demoted on the SMDC Discord server due to some form of corruption, which I find to be completely rubbish. Other than that, many relations have improved, such as Finn and Kokomations. Nowadays, the SMC is entirely located on the Discord server. Now we visit the people who make the SMC, well, the SMC. Mappers is what built this community from the ground up, and many had to deal with the constant struggles this community had. However, most of these mappers are still on the platform today, but most are inactive and solely rely on the Discord server. The majority of mappers will have a segment, and some smaller mappers may get a brief mention or two.
Dudo109 is an American mapper, making him part of the majority. He is mostly known for his YouTube mapping rather than his mapping on Scratch, as the majority of those are animations. He has noted the creation of many terrible projects, but none of which were ever shared. In May of 2017, he made 3 seasons of Alternate Future of Europe, which he considers as much better quality than the previous projects. The first mapping studio he would eventually join was Mapper Community in 2017. He began to make a Mapper Wars and gradually made the jump to YouTube. He also made a couple projects, with Finland Ball, the game becoming the most popular project on his channel, with 1,528 views. After the Dead incident, he created a project in Mapper Community vs. Dead. As of this day, it's one of his most popular mapping projects. After this, he fully migrated to his YouTube channel with little to no activity on Scratch anymore. He would eventually create the Future of Scratch's wiki in May 2018 as the first hangout space for mappers, though he would eventually come to abandon the wiki he created, saying it was best left deserted after the numerous great mapper wars. Currently, his entire activity consists of making YouTube videos and talking to people in the SMC Discord.
One Dominica, or just Dominica, is unsurprisingly a mapper from Dominica. He hasn't uploaded many mapping projects, but he's been very active in the SMC conflicts and recently been active in the community. Dugong Mapping, also known as Lucas2400, is an Australian SMC member. The first project that he saw was a project made by LatviaPotato, as it was listed in the top remixing category. After remixing the project, he took a look at NJ's other projects. After binging his AFOE series, he decided to join the SMC, or at that point the WSMA. He joined many roleplayers and made an alternate future of A series, before cancelling it, only making 2 episodes. He would also create a studio named World of Mapping, a mapper hub which would never become the main studio but would be consistently popular for a long time. He would eventually create a subreddit called r/ScratchMapping, which was popular at its birth but would eventually die. After that, he would be banned from Scratch for an unclear reason, but after 2 months he would be unbanned, and his interest in Scratch would be gone at that point, sadly. He would eventually become a founder of the Mapper Community Prime Studio. LatviaPotato, also known as Enjania, is widely considered to be one of the SMC's most influential mappers. He joined Scratch originally on July 19, 2014 with an old account which had no relation to mapping whatsoever. In November 2017, he created a short war on the Baltics and intended to use it for mapping. Him and his friend decided to make an animation account to work on. However, his friend didn't commit to the idea. However, he followed through, creating the account LatviaPotato. He released his first alternate Future of Europe project, titled The Cringe, on January 15, 2018, and gained a small following from that. When UkBall Productions was surprisingly banned, Enjania ran a vote on who should be the new leader of the SMC, and he won despite only being in the community for around 2 months. In late June, Enjania would be wrongly banned, but after appealing he would be promptly unbanned. Around this time, he reached 100 followers, but was banned again on July 17, 2018. He stupidly logged on to other accounts to tell people he was banned. However, this only escalated the situation and ended up with his main account receiving a perm ban, which would be eventually shortened to 2 months. When he was unbanned, nothing seemed to improve. He would constantly get into fights and start a new series which lasted 11 episodes, until getting banned for the 3rd and last time. The account would be deleted at 9:24 AM Eastern Standard Time on March 20, 2019. Once his school started again, he was able to access an unbanned alternate account, NJ Final Project. He made a couple of projects on the account but was banned again for trying to get SMC users' Discords to invite them to the community server. He is now the owner of said community server and is semi-active on there. Ethernet Games is a mapper from Australia who was mostly active around the era of 2015 to 2016. He created the first known mapping project, Future of the World Part 1 Wars and Wars, on February 16, 2015, over 10 months before CN10 would make his first project. He became the leader of Macedonia in 2015 and became more inactive during this time, and accidentally banned the Swedish Empire once, making people call him authoritarian, but he was too inactive to reply to anything. Due to the lack of activity, Mopscrub would eventually found Mapper Community. Ethan would return to the community in November 2019 and would upload a couple of test mapping projects before being banned and making a new account. He is good friends with the majority of mappers and is active on the Discord.
Finland Ball, also known as Finn, is a popular mapper with 194 follows as of current, the fourth highest amount in the SMC. He first joined Scratch on May 14, 2017, with the account Pokemon Master 090909. Unlike most mappers, his first project was actually related to hurricanes rather than mapping. Eventually, he would release his first mapping project, Alternate Future of New Planet. This project went mostly under the radar until he released his first Alternate Future of Europe project, which was a fairly big success and gained him some popularity within the community. He continued to release projects and gain more popularity until the dead incident. The incident involved Finn pretending that he was hacked by an account named dead and ravaged the mapper community studio. After a month or so, dead and Pokemon Master were banned from Scratch, marking Finn's first ban. While he was banned, he found a great interest in hurricanes and tracked weather as a hobby in between his ban. Due to his school class, Finn made another account named ScratchMapping. The same day, the account Finland Ball was created. This is where Finn talked to a lot of mappers, but was eventually banned on Finland Ball. Recently, the ban is lifted and he's become more active. Finn is currently known for his old controversy and a current hate of OasisMapping 888.
FNAF Funny was an oldest SMC member who joined on July 19, 2014, who would make alternate history-inspired projects but would mostly be known as the most followed mapper until being surpassed by NemoFish84. He participated in the first three so-called Great Mapper Wars. He would eventually become the most followed mapper with 392 followers before being surpassed by NemoFish84, who was formerly a mapper but is negatively viewed in the SMC at this point. Geogranerd joined Scratch in July 2018 due to a summer school task. He explored some Scratch projects, then decided to create some for himself. In November to December 2018, he made his first mapping series and was active on Scratch back then. When Scratch 3.0 released, he started the year off pretty weak, as he was used to Scratch 2.0 and creating projects was something he found difficult. He decided to be inactive but checked comments here and there. Around July 2019, he entered another stage of activity as he learned the advantages of 3.0 and made more projects and was able to check out other mappers. He would eventually pass 100 followers on December 14, 2019 and continue to be active until leaving the SMC and becoming an observer on April 1, 2020. Kokomations, mostly known as Kokomo or Tickle, is an American mapper. His original account, Kokomo505, was made when he was 8 years old, and he posted things about a green rabbit he made. He would post his first mapping project on October 17, 2015, and would make another account solely for mapping and animations named Kokomations. This account would be later banned by the Scratch team, just like many other accounts. During this time, no one would ever hear from him due to his banned accounts. On May 2, 2019, he would return to Scratch on the account Cyagor's Cartedin, but he would upload most projects relating to maps, rather than mapping animations. He would eventually join the SMC Discord and become known for being fairly controversial with the many skirmishes and wars he would have with Finn, causing the two to hate each other for some time. Recently, they made up and are both active on the Discord server. Luigi888 is a British mapper and one of three mappers that contain the numbers 888 in the username, the other two being WisestMiner888 and Thundercraft888. He is known for his high-quality projects and being praised as being the best map by Enjania several times. He would create his account on June 25, 2016. In late 2017, he would become more interested in politics, specifically Brexit, and it was the UK's biggest issue at the time. He started looking for other Brits on the site, most notably UkBall Productions, only a day or two before his ban. Unluckily, this put him in a bad time, as this is when the toxicity in the SMC began to spike for the first time. His first project was Alternate Future of the UK, marking a rare occasion in the SMC where someone's first project caught the attention of a lot of mappers. Enjania and Finland Ball would be the most notable people to be first view his series. After that, he released what he considers to be his most popular series, Alternate Future of Isolated Europe. He's also made a fair amount of games such as AFOE Grand Strategy and a ScratchMapping community RPG, but he quotes that Deed stole the idea. Malayan Mapping joined Scratch in December 2018 and already made mapping projects, but decided to make an account on the website. He's known for his high-quality mapping on Scratch and has also branched out into other mediums, such as Undertale fights and animations. Malayan was also known for drawing special pictures of the mapper's usables on the Discord server, and some people share a slight hate for him because of that.
Mopscrub is the only mapper on the US West Coast, and he makes that very clear with his liking of the Northwest. He was formerly very influential in the SMC and still is to some degree. He joined Scratch on April 29, 2015, and made his first mapping project on May 30th, 2016, the exact same day SM's account was created. The first said project was named AFO Video Part 1, and surprisingly, it's his most successful project with 152 views currently. In 2016, he would release a couple more mapping projects, and with some of those in between, these would be his only mapping projects. On March 31st, 2017, he would create the Mapper Community Studio, replacing Mapperdonia as the largest mapping studio. The studio would come to define his time on Scratch, as it is what propelled him into becoming one of the more major users in the community. Mop would also partake in both Mapper Community Wars, as Dead would come to raid the studio with the help of Finn. After Mapper Community collapsed on April 14, 2018, with the rise of the WSMA, Mopscrub would collapse into inactivity for some time before becoming active again on the Wikia and eventually becoming a member of the SMC Discord.
Mapping, unsurprisingly, is a mapper from Ontario, Canada, and originally joined Scratch under the account name EnderGamer7777, and it was fairly active. He started a mapping series on March 15, 2018, but would eventually create an account named Ontario Mapping to create mapping projects on April 30th of that same year. His first contact in the SMC was Finn, and he would go on to release a series called Ultimate Future of North America, but he abandoned it after a few episodes as he realized it wasn't up to quality and worked on improving his mapping. Ontario was a quick learner in the SMC and picked up that it was dying, and thus started an AFOW collab named the Ultimate Collab. He would eventually have high tension with Just Your Average and CS271503. Ontario and Just Your Average would become pretty good friends after, but the conflict between him and CS would never resolve. When Scratch 3.0 was released, Ontario was one of the few mappers who actually opened it with open arms, and using a colour palette to map, he continued to make projects with the software. Currently, Ontario was known for being a major meme and shitposter in the community and in the Discord, enjoying good relationships with the majority of mappers. OasisMapping, commonly known as Oasis or DJ Greg, is a mapper who lives in the United Kingdom. Despite labelling himself as retired from mapping, he is still an observer of the SMC and will communicate with other mappers. His mapping account was created on the 11th of May 2019, when at the time he didn't know how to map on Scratch as it was a different platform. He created his first mapping project on the same day he joined, titled Alternate Future of Space. He went on to make 3 episodes of that series, and a trailer for the never-released 4th project. He was banned in August 2019 in an event named the August Purge, as many mappers were banned during this time. On September 28, 2019, he stated he would take a break from mapping projects until November that same year. Currently, he is working on an SMC3 games, animations, and is the vice president of the Poop Coalition, an alliance intended to stop follow for follow. ScratchMapping, commonly shortened to SM or just Harry, is an Australian mapper based in Adelaide. He joined Scratch on July 21, 2014 on his first account, GameMaker2807. On this account, he uploaded some games and animations with just random content. He began experimenting with mapping in 2016, making an alternate future of Europe he describes as horrible, with no storyline or common sense whatsoever. After that, he made an account named ScratchMapping on May 30th, 2016 to focus solely on mapping. During this time, he joined Mapperdonia, the first mapping studio, and became good friends with older mappers such as Ethan Games and Mapperboy. Surprisingly, only 2 or 3 months in, he would release the most viewed mapping project of all time, with 1.5k views as of current. Alternate Future of Europe Episode 4 Country Balls was a very short episode, but it introduced the first use of country balls and him experimenting with other software to create mapping projects. Around late 2017 to early 2018, he went into a bit of an inactivity spiral, being one of the only major mappers at the time not being part of the studio mapper community, and thus never dealt with the Dead incident. In 2018, he would start a Map Awards series, which was fairly popular, but was postponed and then ended early due to inactivity in other projects he wanted to continue. When the first SMC Wiki was created, he didn't care much for it, and really only talked with other mappers on the platform. Currently, he's working on a reality show-inspired series with members from the SMC, named SMC Survivor, and is one of the only somewhat active mappers that are currently on the Discord server. Scene10 is who most defined to be the first mapper on Scratch. He joined Scratch on August 9, 2014 and would create a project named Punja on the same day, with 5 different puns read out for each number you press on your keyboard. He was originally part of the Star Wars community on Scratch, but on the 4th of October 2015, he released a project named Update News, showcasing a new alternate history series giving an explanation to the term. On the 18th of December 2015, he posted a project named Alternate Future of Scratch Islands Episode 1. This is where the SMC is believed to begin and was posted in Cine10 Studio as well as the Macedonia Studio. Sadly, on August 1st, 2016, Cine would make a project called It's Been Fun, where he announced his quit from Scratch and his move to YouTube. He would make a channel called Mapper from Nigeria, but his last video was a special on how to make a country ball uploaded 3 years ago, and we haven't heard from him since. SkyMiner, also known as Sky, is an American mapper. He had been using the offline version of Scratch until November 18, 2017, when he discovered the Scratch website, and in 2018 he experimented with Scratch, making whatever projects he wanted to make, until making an alternate future of Europe in September of that year. On February 2nd, 2019, he participated in another one of the SMC's wars, the Fourth Break Mapper War. He would release a diss track called Enjania, which was a diss track on the memers who declared war on the SMC. This track was praised from some mappers, and after the war he began to make an alternate future of North America series. After the collapse of the community, he would lose interest in mapping, but still work on side projects such as Mapper Tracker, an account made to track ScratchMapper follow accounts. Spatula Pyro is an American mapper on Scratch. He joined the platform on January 28, 2016, and will join the SMC on the 28th of October 2019 and uses his own nation Nicosia with an ongoing series called Alternate Future of the Solar System. Spongy is a former SMC member who has 122 followers at the time of his departure from the community. His Scratch debut was on June 3rd, 2017, and he will join the SMC in June 2019. He started making only games and animations before branching out to country roleplays and eventually making high amounts of roleplay projects, as well as some small mapping projects. He would eventually create the studio ScratchMapping Community U Deluxe, but it was denounced by some as fake. Spongy would join the Discord server, staying active and even becoming owner at one point due to a complication, but he would eventually leave. In October 2019, he would be plagued with wars and eventually become tired of the SMC, and he left it, becoming inactive on all platforms. The Rem889 is a semi-active banned mapper from Kazakhstan. He is technically inactive in the SMC discussions because he stays away from it, trying not to get into unnecessary drama. His account has been banned 5 times, which is a record in the SMC. Despite the amount of times he has appealed, the Scratch team has refused his unban. He joined Scratch on January 10th, 2016, and the SMC on August 20th, 2018. He has enjoyed making mapping projects and is mostly known for his alternate future of the ScratchMapping Community Revenge series, a Mapper Wars-like series taken to the next level. He was originally banned for the Fred 657 incident, which wasn't taken the right way by the Scratch team. He isn't active on the SMC Discord, but is active on Discord talking to other mappers, especially ScratchMapping, as they both share a love for the video game series Ace Attorney. UkBall Productions, currently known as Dan Tomkier, is a British mapper who joined Scratch in February 2017 and the SMC in September 2017 of that same year. He was the first unifier of the SMC, being very influential in founding the World Scratch Mapping Alliance, formerly known as WSMA. Sticking the nail in the coffin for Mapper community and its inactivity. He would create an AFOE and a Mapper Wars series, both of which were very popular. However, he would be banned after trying to make a community account named Mappers and was terminated due to sharing password information. He would eventually go on to help D0109 found the SMC wiki and would join the Discord server, but would never be active in it. WasisMiner 888, more commonly known as the Wisest, is a fairly controversial mapper in the Scratch mapping community. He joined Scratch on May 8th, 2016 and the SMC on June 5th, 2017. He made a couple mapping projects and was friends with another mapper named User, and with a whole bunch of numbers I'm not going to bother to recite. He has been very controversial the whole time by quote-unquote hiring other people to vandalise one of the Scratch mapping wikis. Despite being a so-called enemy of the SMC, he was still friends with users such as Mopscrub, Oasis and ScratchMapping at this time. Recently, he has healed relations with the community. While not being on the Discord server, he still talks to many SMC members on the platform. Overall, the ScratchMapping community has had its fair shares of highs and lows. It's been through a lot, but it's somewhat active to this day. Despite all the skirmishes and wars between the members, and the harsh moderation of the Scratch team, the SMC shines as a beacon of how friendships in a community can be built with a children's coding platform. I hope you enjoyed this documentary, as it's taken a very long time to make and gathering the information required to finish this project, especially due to the recent deletion of the wiki by some weebs. Now to wrap up, I'd love to give credit where credit's due. Thanks to Deet0109, Finland Ball, LatviaPotato and Kokomations for helping me out with art and assisting with guest appearances with voice service. Thanks for watching and have a great day. ScratchMapping out.